Good afternoon, everyone. I believe we have most of our committee members except another Muklesur Rahman sir, I believe. So I'm just waiting, and once he's also there, we can start the session. We will also be having an in-person training tomorrow by Saurav, who's in Dhaka today. So tomorrow he will be giving an in-person training on the key how to input the data to the model, how to interpret output specifically. So today's session, because we're going to have the next 2 days as an in-person training on inputs and outputs, we are now going to focus on understanding how the model works, how data flows from one sheet to another, and what is the working principle of the model. So we will be going through that line by line today. I will just wait for another 2 to 3 minutes. Yes, I think everybody has joined now. So I believe all the committee members have joined. So, sir, with your permission, should I begin today's session?
Mr. Abid and Mr. Abid Bhai is not joining still. John Hussain, Abid Bhai.
Yes, Abid Hussain sir is set to join. I will just wait for another 3 to 4 minutes, and then we will start on understanding how this model linkages happen from one sheet to another. What are the things that are happening in the model? Tomorrow's session will be focused on actually entering data in person. You will be entering the data yourself. And after that, you will be seeing how the model's outputs are changing. So today we will just understand these processing sheets just to show you what the working principle of the model. I will wait for another.
Mr. Abid is joining very soon.
Okay, sir. Great. So, so far, just to check if all of us are on the same page, we saw that this model has, if anyone can answer in terms of the number of sheets that are there in this model, how many input sheets, how many output sheets, just open your chat box and answer. It's okay. Or you can, just to see if all of us are on the same page. In fact, the model is visible right in front of you. So showcasing all the sheets also. If anyone can answer the number of sheets that are there in the model, just to see if, of course, we will be working on the model hands-on from tomorrow. But in the meanwhile, so the model has totally 8 sheets, 3 input sheets, 3 processing sheets, and 2 output sheets. Now within the output sheet, you have 2 different views, current scenario view and decision support tool. And we saw that from decision support tool, you can generate reports on tariff adjustment, operational performance, and so on. So that is available. We will be going through more of it in the in-person training. But now we have already gone through the Divasa historical data sheet, how data is entered, from where is it entered, how do you enter, how do you change the year, and so on. We also went through the main assumption sheet. We are yet to go through the input parameters sheet in complete detail, and we are yet to do the calculation, leakage energy, and Divasa accounts sheets. These are the sheets where the main processing is happening. So what I will do today is take you through this calculation sheet mainly. I'll just wait for Abid Hussain sir also to join. But I believe sir suggested that he might not, that was for Friday, right? He was not available on Thursday session. He was saying that he might not be available. In the last session, he had hinted that he might not be available. Okay. In that case, I'll just start for today's session. Just taking you through. We'll spend just around another 30 to 40 minutes going through these line by line calculations of this sheet, how it works. Then you will be able to appreciate the working principle and then why each of these inputs are required. Then in person, we will understand the scenarios and the inputs that are required also once again. So now I'll go on to the line by line calculations. So the 3 processing sheets that you see here, So we saw that there are three input sheets. One is for all historical data, past performance in operational, past financial performance, all is entered in the historical data, which has two parts: operational inputs, accounting inputs, right? Everything related to past. Now, main assumptions is completely related to future. That is, how do you expect your, which year, till which year do you have data, right? How do you expect inflation and all these future projections ke liye, whatever assumptions are required related to future projections. These are not, so like, for example, what is the cost that you expect for a tube well? What is the future income source looking like? What is the future salary structure looking like? The main assumption is related to future projections. So historical is related to past, as the name suggests. Assumptions are all related to the assumptions related to future projections. That is, how could the future loan situation look like, or what could be your advance rate looking like, and so on. Right now, the last is the input parameters, which is all related to the strategic inputs. So one is talking about, in the three sheets, the first is talking about the past, the second sheet is talking about the future, right? How to project. And input parameters is as a two, is basically guiding you for future. That is, it will say, for example, that if you want to achieve so much of target, considering this is the cost of, so in water coverage, basically in input parameters, we are giving a target for water coverage. Now we know the past water coverage from historical data. In main assumptions, we know that, for achieving water coverage, this is for every kilometer of network, these many connections can be achieved, and so on. So some assumptions are there which are towards future related, like generally how many connections, what is the cost required for laying down so many networks, and so on, right? So all that is coming in main assumptions. Now, using the target that you have set, now the model in the calculation sheet, it will say, okay, you are at 73% today based on historical. You want to reach 100% based on your target that you have set in the strategic input or input parameter sheet. Now, in the main assumption sheet, you are saying, I need so much of money for every kilometer of network, and for every kilometer of network, this is the coverage I can achieve. This is the number of connections I can do. So if I know all this, how do I see, how do I reach the target, whether I can reach the target given the investment, right? So basically, input parameters is a guiding item for future projections, right? Main assumptions are all like, input parameters gives the strategic targets, strategic inputs, whereas main assumptions is related to just overall projection, like, general, like what is the cost per MLD of tube well, what it could be the cost per MLD of this thing, what is the escalation looking like, and so on, right? Is this distinction clear between the three sheets? One is historical, one is completely future related. The input parameters is like guiding. From here, you want to go there, how do we go, like what are the strategies you need to do, like that strategic targets is given in the input parameter sheet. So these are the three input sheets. Now all these three input sheets, the data from all these three sheets flow into the calculation sheet. Okay, now from in calculation, so you see that there are three different processing sheets. So first is calculation, which is having parts on water demand projections. Okay, we have water demand projections, we have water supply projections, we have revenue projections, right? We have operational OPEX related projections. I'm just trying to show different sections that are there. There are capital related calculations. There's capital work in progress, rate receivables, grants. As per master plan, what is the expected capital, this thing. There's loans and borrowings. So, I mean, there are different sections on the calculation sheet. And then it goes on to show you different asset, loan wise breakup and all that, right? What is the repayment schedule for each loan, and so on, right? So these are the different sections. So we have operation related calculations and capital related calculations. In operational related calculations, we have demand projections, supply projections, revenue projections, and OPEX projections. Then we have in capital related calculations, we have work in progress rate. All these are accounting related. Both are interconnected in this sheet now. In addition, because NRW is a very, dependent on multiple items and it is a separate subject in itself, there is a sheet called the leakage energy, which is talking about how will we compute the leakage assumptions, right? How do we ensure that, whether are we increasing the coverage or increasing the network? What is the investment in the water network? How will we know how to arrive at the other one, right? Whether we are focusing on replacing old pipes or closing old, finding new transmission lines and distribution lines. All that is decided in this leakage energy sheet. And lastly, we have the Divasa account sheet, which has 3 distinct parts. I'm going to just zoom out for the sake. So we have 3 parts. First is the balance sheet, which as is directly available in your accounting statement, it is giving a projection of the assets, equity and liability. So assets and liabilities are given here. Then we have the next part, which is the income statement, which gives you the overview of all the revenue sources and the operating expenses. Lastly, we have the cash flow statements, which is detailing out cash flow from operating activities, investing activities, and so on. So again, in all these sheets, wherever you see blue, that means you have entered some data, right? Wherever there is no blue, it's all completely projected on its own. So in this, for example, balance sheet is completely projected on its own. You have not, and in the income statement is also completely projected on its own. Whereas cash flow, just for the beginning, last year's cash flow statement, we have given the inputs, but rest is all computed in future as on its own. So this is the 3 different processing sheets. Now from here, in output statements, you will see some indicators are computed, right? And using these indicators, like there are indicators on profitability, there are indicators on payback capacity, liquidity, and so on. And then we also have key salient features in terms of talking about how is coverage looking like. So operational parameters are also there and financial parameters are also there. All this again is featured in your dashboard, which showcases, okay, this is my future balance sheet, this is my income statement, cash flow. So these are the different sheets. So we have 3 input sheets, one on past, one on future, the other giving strategic inputs to guide towards future. Now calculation is taking inputs from all these input sheets and projecting. And from calculation, in calculation, there is also a part which is leakage energy, which is related to NRW, right? And then we also have Divasa accounts. From basically data from calculation is used to project the future financial statements. Now I'll go on to each and every line item and explain like each section, how the interplay between these different items work. Okay. So I'm just looking at the water demand projections. So what is happening is, the past coverage data, as you can see there, like there, if you click on it, you will see a very big and formula, but the idea is simple. In the past, it will be computed exactly the same as the indicator you see in the historical data, right? So in the past, which is, you have given that this is the total number of water connections I have, right? From the then it has already computed the water coverage, 84%, 81%. You have not entered this. Only the blue cells have been entered by you. But based on the total connection details it has computed the indicators. Now 84, 81, 79, 73. This is the water coverage indicator. I am exactly using that here, right? It's directly taking from there. Then because you've given a target of 100%, it is slowly, increasing for the future. This is how the coverage is increasing for the future. Now, if this was the coverage that was increasing too, right, then okay, this is my total residential, like of this so many people. We have assumptions which is talking about what is the percentage of consumption by residential people here in the demand related projections. We have residential consumption, other consumptions, and all these items we have a estimate, right? We have given a way for it to project for future. So from that, it says, okay, this is my total number of residential consumption, how it is increasing. So to give you an overview, so this is the total population, right? And assuming the overall, coverage is also there, right? So we are saying G11, which is population into 10 power 6. And then in the main assumptions, you have an LPCD assumption. So based on that, it is projecting the total residential consumption. Similarly, we have an LPCD assumption for low income groups also. Again, that is used to project. So this way, a water demand is generated. Now this, if you see, it will be very much in line with the master plan that has been approved already by Dakawasa. So this is the water demand. Now, in addition, you have firefighting and all that. Using that, there is a gross water demand generated, right? Now, gross water demand, it also should include ideally the total losses that are there in the system, which is why there is a kind of a circular loop going on. I'll come to the losses, but this is the overall demand without the losses, you can say, right? We have coverage, we have residential consumption, different consumption by different consumer groups. Then we have firefighting. With that, total gross water demand is there. And you have also kept a sewerage generated has been projected, saying, 80% of the water is returned back with a sewerage return rate of 80%. We have, which is also given in the sewerage return rate. So none of the items in calculation sheet are entered manually, as you can see, right? Every item is coming from the other 3 input sheets. So based on that, it has computed the sewerage generated also. So this is the overall demand. Now, while the demand is so, the production could not, need not be exactly like that. And based on the actual supply could be different, right? Because if you whether you have capacity to supply so much is another thing. So that is where the water supply projections come in. So you have, in the past, the actual water produced from WTP or water produced from tube well is taken directly as is from the historical sheet, right? It's directly taken from there. Now, in addition, whatever is, this is exactly from the actual sheet, as you can see, right? Now, in future, it is getting projected based on the utilization assumptions. Right? Is this logic clear? Saying that this is the total capacity, right? And you are expecting the utilization to go up to 100%, right? With a gradual increase. Now, if that were to happen, what is the total maximum production versus what is the production required, right? Basically, it is balancing out based on the demand also. Okay, this is the total capacity of tube well and capacity of WTP. If this is the total utilization, then I'm just doing a back calculation saying this is the water produced from WTP and tube well. Now, the underlying assumption here is first preference is given to produce water from WTP, then the balance is given from tube well. Okay, so with that assumption only, first it computes the maximum water production by WTP, and then the balance, whatever demand is left, is generated from tube well. And in all case, it need not be that you are meeting the 100% demand. You will see that result, in fact, in the dashboard, that when you are not able to meet 100% of your demand, like the required production capacity versus actual production capacity will be visible in the dashboard as well. Second. So this is how water demand and water supply projections are done. Is this clear? This part is clear? I hope. Any doubts on this? Now, okay, I will just move on to the revenue. This logic, the internal processing logic is, you will not be required to change any of this drastically at any point, because you only have to focus on the inputs and outputs. But because in the last session also it was told you that you would like to understand how this model is working, which is why we are taking you through the processing sheets. Otherwise, the input and the output part will suffice, right, for a working knowledge purpose. So once we have the demand, we know that this is the demand from the population and the LPCD assumption. From the production side, we know this is the capacity that we are planning to have, right? So for example, here, capacity of tube well, as you can see, right, the past is coming from exactly from the past data, but in projections, it is coming from input parameters. Again, if you have invested something on tube wells, if you're adding a new capacity of the tube wells, that is taken into account here, and based on that, the latest capacity is given here. Right. So this is the way it computes the future projection. So based on this tube well capacity and WTP capacity, it takes this data into this. So if you feel like, no, this is not possible, some tube well is actually getting defunct at some point. So I know that some of the tube wells are getting reduced. According to the master plan, you plan to reduce the dependency on tube well by 2029. By 2030. So with that same logic, we have tried to reduce some of the tube well dependencies year on year. But if you think this is not suitable, you can change the values here. It is all up to you. While it is, you can change any of the data in any year, and it will work. That is, say for example, you realize ki no, in as on 2021, this is the capacity of the tube well that we currently have. Then you can just enter and update this data, right? So you can update this data while it is entered as a formula. You are free to update the data. Specifically, the nodal officer can update this data at the back end. So using the total capacity of tube well based on the investment and the demand, we know that this is the demand and the utilization levels, we can arrive at the maximum production of tube well and WTP. Now, from the maximum production with the maximum demand that is there, we are trying to match by using the, first preference is given to whatever water is produced from WTP, plus after that, the tube well is matching the remaining amount. So like total produced is balanced out based on the net water demand, right? That is the logic of this. Now I'll go on to, Now I'll go on to the revenue side. Now, revenue consists of two parts. That is that how much water you are selling to consumers and what is the value at which you're selling, right? So two parts. So that is what is computed here. First part is water sold to consumers. Second part is the water bill, sewer bill value, right? But water sold to consumers is not just a factor of just the demand supply item, right? So the surplus and deficit that you see here, right, is computed from there. But you'll also see in the dashboard how the surplus and deficit are working, right? So this is the required production capacity. Total capacity is what is available in orange. So in some days it's peak, and after some time it actually is lower than what is required, right? So that is what is happening here as well. So that is while you're producing so much of water, right, after some losses that are there in the system, which includes your NRW loss, the whatever is resultant is what you're selling to the consumer, right? You're selling, so your capacity of production is so much, but actual water produced is only so much, right? So, and then that talks about the surplus and deficit. So in this case, there is a total capacity of production is higher and the actual water produced is lower. After a few days, you will see that, you know, the capacity of production is, again, it is matching. It is like you are now working in a completely efficient system. That means 100% utilization, right? So this changes. Now NRW is the losses that are happening in the system, which is not directly realizable as revenue. This could be physical losses like, leakage in the system, leakage in the pipes. Then it could be commercial loss, which is in terms of not realizing it's not metered. It is not billed to the consumer. So both are factored in the NRW calculation. So I'll go on to how NRW is computed in the leakage energy sheet. But before that, let's just try to see. So if suppose we know that this is the leakage that we are presently having in the system, again, in the case of NRW, the first 4 years is computed based on actuals. And from 2019 onwards is projected from it, which is coming from the leakage energy sheet, right? So if we know total water produced is so much, and this is the loss, that means you're only selling after that loss, whatever is available, that is the water you're selling to the customer, right? That is the logic. So total water produced is say 2330. After an NRW, if you have an NRW of 41%, whatever you're selling only 1300, which is, remaining 69% is what you're selling, 59%. 41% is not realizable as revenue, right? So this is the water sold to consumers. So water sold to consumers is a factor of NRW, right? And now in terms of the bill, water bill, we have domestic customers and commercial customers, and both of them have a different slab. So what the model has inherently done is based on the past water bill. So based on the past water bill as well as the tariff rate for water and domestic consumers, it has already computed the percentage of domestic and commercial consumers. It's like a weighted average, right? So, and it is also telling you the average water tariff and average sewer tariff, like total value of bills and total water bills. It is computing the average water tariff. Now, once you know the average water tariff and you also know the specific water tariff of domestic consumers and commercial customers, it can say that, okay, this is the percentage of domestic customers that are there in the system, and this is the percentage of commercial customers there in the system. So this has been automatically done. Now it also goes on to project it for future, right? Assume based on the assumptions given in the main assumption sheet. So right now you are at 20, say 80-20, and you are expecting this to go up to 25 to 30%, right? Accordingly, it has done this projection, the commercial and domestic split. And with the average water tariff, so the water tariff projections are taken again from the, so water tariff projections are taken from the input parameter sheet where you have given a tariff target. Now, once you know this is how the future tariff is going to look like, it is easier to compute the average water tariff. Now, with the average water tariff and average sewer tariff, and you also know the percentage of domestic and commercial customers, you are now able to project your water bill, which is, 83% of your domestic customers are going to be charged water at so and so rate, right? And this is the total water you're selling to them, right? So you know the number of customers, the tariff in which you're selling, and the total water quantity you're selling. So with all this is used to arrive at the water bill. I hope it is clear, right? So you know the total water sold, and you know that average water tariff, basically it's just used to compute the total water bill. Similarly, sewer tariff is also used to compute this total sewer bill. This is how this part is projected. Now NRW is coming again, because NRW is again, as I said, is a factor of technical and physical laws, right? It is also a factor of how much investment you're doing in the network and so on. So all that is used. This is like a circular reference is there, because it is dependent. NRW determines your water production as well as your water sold, right? Because it's a item that is required to compute both. So there is a circular reference here. I'll come to again NRW, this is being computed from the leakage energy sheet. As you can see here, I will come to it when we go to the leakage energy sheet. But yeah, so now overall, now that we know that this is the water sold to consumers, and this is the percentage of consumers that you are reaching, you can arrive at the total water coverage. Now coverage and NRW both are interlinked, as I was saying. So you are spending 100 taka in the network. If you have to decide whether you want to use all 100 taka for creating new network. If you create a new network, that means you're giving more coverage. You're reaching out to more people. If you are replacing your old pipes, you're improving the losses in the system with 100 taka, and that means you're not increasing coverage, you're focusing on reducing NRW. So that is why coverage and NRW both are items coming from the leakage energy sheet, which we will, which is based on the investment in the water network. But in addition, the sewer coverage is again increasing based on with respect to the given targets, right? Based on the investment in the network. So for example, we have in the main assumption sheet said that how much is the cost per sewer network, right? So based on the cost per sewer network, it is assuming that, for every kilometer of every taka invested, this is the kilometer of, this is the kilometer of sewer network that I can lay, right? So I will showcase this with an example. So here we are saying 1,550 is the total investment in the sewer network as per the master plan. Now, how much it will impact the coverage is given in main assumptions D39. I'm going to show what is there in main assumptions D39, right? Percentage improvement in sewer coverage for every million BDT. So we are saying 0.001% coverage will improve for every million BDT that you are investing. That is the assumption. With that assumption, based on the million BDT that you are investing, the coverage is increasing. Now once and this is like the cumulative coverage, right? This is the increase in that particular year, and this is the total coverage. Now with total, then you are also having a projection of the total water connections. Now that you know your sewer coverage, right? That means you will know how many number of people you are connected, right? Then that you can also, based on the past year, the difference is the new water sewer connections and sewers. Now, if you have new connections in sewers, you also have a tariff rate saying what is the charge for new sewer connection, right? You can multiply that and arrive at the revenue item. So there is a water bill revenue item, sewer bill revenue item, and there is also new connection revenue item. All of them are computed by using the coverage assumptions, right? So now all these items, whatever you're seeing here is directly used to project your revenue. Now I'm just opening the Divasa account sheet. I'll just zoom in a little bit. Yeah. So as you can see here, it is coming directly from I-48. The water bill is coming from calculation row 48, which is here. Right. Similarly, sewer bill is also directly taken into the Divasa account sheet. The other income includes the new connection related income, which is taken from, as you can see, I-65 and I-66, which is new water connection. Income from new connection for water as well as sewer connections, right? So you know the total water connect. So you know what is the expected coverage based on the expected investment in the network. Because you know for every taka that you invest in the network, this is the maximum amount of pipe that you can lay, right? With that assumption, it projects the water coverage. Now, once you know the coverage, you also know the number of connections that you can reach out to with that coverage. Then once you know the number of connections, the difference gives the new connections that are generated in the system, multiplied with the charges for new water connection charges or new sewer connection charges, gives the income from such parameters, right? In addition, we also have collection efficiency. That is, while you are billing so much, you could not be realizing all of this revenue. There is a collection efficiency parameter. So this is all related to bill. Everything is multiplied with the collection efficiency before going into the accounts side of it, right? So is this so far clear? This is like basically the entire operational working of the financial model. Is this section clear? Any doubts? Yes, Mokleswaraman, sir. Do you feel this part is clear, or any specific doubts you have?
Hello, I am a research officer. It is clear something is cross-matching, is mis-cross-matching several times, but it will be clear by practicing.
Yes. Okay. Yes, sir. So tomorrow and day after tomorrow, specifically for the practice sessions, we will be, doing this in person, where we will be taking you through the input sheet and output sheet. But this is only to, we have already covered the input sheets and output sheets in the last 5 sessions, right? What are the different outputs that we can generate? What are the different inputs? So tomorrow you will be doing more of the hands-on exercise on how to generate inputs, how to input to the model, how to generate outputs for the model. But this is just to show you how each of these items are interdependency, like the processing part of it. While this is not necessary for it is not necessary for all of you to learn. In fact, maybe only the person who's handling the model should know a little bit about how each of these sheets are working. But otherwise, for all practical purposes, you can only focus on the Divasa historical the input sheets and this output sheet. Others are not directly relevant, right? So this is just to showcase, because it was told that it's not clear how the model is working. That is why we just thought we'll just take you through this section where we are showcasing how the different sheets of the model are, like the processing sheets. This is only for a knowledge purpose. So today's session, we are just trying to tell you how the model is taking all these inputs that you have entered in the first 3 sheets and how it is working together. Yeah. So here I'm just going on to the capital related sides, right? So there are 2-3 different observations here that you should notice. First is that presently in and we understand that Divasa's loans and accounts presently is not commensurate to what exactly are the loans that are actually received by the Akasa. That is, government of Bangladesh also bears some part of the loan repayment. So if suppose you have received a loan of say 4,000 million taka, it's not necessary that you are repaying at the actual interest rate that government of Bangladesh is repaying for. So you could be paying only some part of it. The balance is met by government of Bangladesh. That is, you say, for example, you have a loan of 3,711 taka, for which you are expected to pay an interest of, I'm just showing in a future year. So you have a loan of say 36 million taka, right? And for which you are expected to pay an interest of 1,873. In the present scenario, it is not that case. You are only paying around 200, 220 million takas. The remaining is generally paid out by government of Bangladesh. Is that correct, sir? I mean, so we have done this analysis in 2018 as well, when we had sat with the accounts department to understand how the loans are realized and how the interest and repayment is computed. So presently, government of Bangladesh also is doing the repayment, and only some parts of it is obligated to be done by Dhaka Vasa. But in future, because the funding agencies wanted to see if Dhaka Vasa is standalone, financially sustainable. So what has happened is, for all the future projections that you will see that there is a sudden jump in terms of the interest and repayment. That is because we are now paying, the future projection is assuming that Dhaka Vasa is paying everything. Dhaka Vasa is doing the complete bearing of the loans that it has received. That is, every loan is repaid by Dhaka Vasa from its accounts and not dependent on government of Bangladesh. That is the assumption for future. In actuals, of course, you are free to change how it happened. But for future, because we want to ensure that Dhaka Vasa as a standalone entity remains sustainable, that is how the future projections are done. So any account specifically from the, any inputs from the accounts team on this specifically? Sohail, sir, and any specific inputs on this, sir? Is this correct that you are presently, the repayment is borne by government of Bangladesh? You are not doing the complete interest and repayment as of now, but we want to change this in the future, because for funding agencies that is more sustainable, that they need to see whether Dhaka Vasa can bear their debt. That is why the future projections are done that way. Just to reiterate again, that is one of the key principles in the future projections. So for example, when you're looking at I'll show the account statements. So when you're looking at the interest item, so a bit till this part, there will not be any issue when you're looking at the projections and the actuals. But what will most likely cause a concern is there is interest was on 107, 92, 60, and it is suddenly jumping. Because there are new loans that we are envisaging as per the master plan, but we are also saying that Dhaka Vasa is going to bear the brunt of this, that they will repay their own interest. So that is how the future projections work. Is that clear, sir? Is that clear for? Is that fine with everyone, or do you think no? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, Mr. Iqbal Khan, sir.
Excuse me, ma'am. I want to say that there are internal policy in Dhaka Vasa to recognize the loan as a loan.
Yes.
After some criteria matching, we converted the fund from the government to convert it to the loan. When we convert or recognize the fund as loan, then we calculate the interest. That's why, that means when our project is completed, running project is completed, a bulk amount of fund has transferred from farm to loan. That's why the interest amount is increasing suddenly, which is not regular, maintaining the regular trend.
Correct. Yes, sir. We are with you on this. So that is currently, I think most of the loan, Dhaka Vasa's records it is taken as a grant from the government of Bangladesh also. Correct? Like you are not directly
Yes.
repaying. Yes. So because of this issue, yes. So this is something that we understand in the past, but because when we are, it is not an ideal practice. So in future, from a funding agency perspective, they want to see if Dhaka Vasa standalone can meet this expense, right? So that is why we are saying in future, the future projection. So all actuals will be as per whatever is happening on ground. But in projection side, the future financial sustainability and all will be checked, assuming that Dhaka Vasa themselves are repaying the loan and not as just a grant. Is that I mean, that is also the I'm completely with you on this, that is why the interest is suddenly jumping, because as the for all future projections, we are expecting the interest to be paid by Dhaka Vasa itself. That is the assumption for future projections. While it could not be so in reality, like tomorrow you might say, no, I'm not going to pay complete 1800, I'm going to pay only 100, and it still constitutes like a grant, and that system can still remain when it comes to an actuals. But projections will be done assuming that Dhaka Vasa is paying the repayment or paying the interest. Is that fine? Is that fair, sir? Does that answer your question also? I mean, I'm with you on this.
Yes, yes, you are right.
Yes. So that is one of the key assumptions, and that is why you see this like sudden jump in interest. But I mean, so otherwise you would see that in the other projections in terms of EBITDA and all will fairly remain consistent with what your future projections are going to look like. Only change would be that this interest parameter is shows like a higher number, primarily because we are assuming that Dhaka Vasa will directly pay this component. Okay. Now with that, like I mean, there are more details in terms of how property, plant and equipment. This is all similar to what your financial statements are already doing. So that's why I'm not getting into the details, but I would be happy to like take you through this. I want to, before I continue, like close, I want to take through the NRW versus coverage aspect, how it is presently happening. Right. So we have two models in which we are doing this. So one we are saying is leakage per kilometer, leakage, the KL of leakage, kiloliters of leakage per kilometer of pipe per day. That is one model. The other is, where we are talking about these are the two options. One is for every year additional leakage in pipe, every year additional leakage in from connection perspective. So these are two standard models that are done globally. That is, for every connection, this is the kiloliter leakage. Then for every kilometer of pipe, this is the kiloliter leakage. So two models are there, but we are using the predominantly the kilometer model is more relevant because it also factors the pressure in the pipe, the hours of supply and so on. So we have also tried to use the same kiloliter per kilometer per day. That is, so we are assuming that for every every kilometer, there is 0.05 kiloliters, okay, of leakage per day in the system. Now this is for 24 hours supply and a 20 meter pressure in the network. Right, as this changes, the leakage energy sheet the other factors will also change. And we also have assumed certain items like the life of pipe. 30 years is the life of pipe. So after the life is complete, it starts leaking more, right? So there will be more leakages in the system. So that is how this overall leakage energy sheet has been projected. Now it depends on two items. So I do not know if this data is available. The length of pipes over 400 mm diameter and less than 400 mm diameter. So over 400 is generally considered like a transmission pipe, and less than 400 is distribution pipe, right? So that is the distinction we are making in the leakage energy sheet between a transmission line and a distribution line, right? For every so many water connections, you have to add a distribution line. For every distribution line, these many transmission lines have to be added, and so on, right? So that is the way these interconnections are happening. That is, you have, for the total investment in the network, some will be going towards connection, some will be going towards making a distribution pipe, and some will be going towards creating a transmission pipe. So that is the logic which we have used. So as you're creating more network, you will first put transmission pipes, then you will put distribution pipe, then you will finally give the connection, right? So that is the new connection network. And when you're replacing pipes, you will start replacing distribution lines, and then you will replace the transmission lines. So that is the model in which this leakage energy sheet has been computed. what I'll do is, I know it is a lot, and it is not necessary for all of us to understand the workings of this. But what I'll do is I'll take some example and see how this is impacting the model. So what I'm going to do is, just to show you how this leakage energy sheet directly affects. So I am showing this NRW line item. This NRW line item, which is starting at 45% and going down to, in 2018, 31%, and in 2030, it is at 5%. In 2025, it is at 9% in this scenario, right? I'm going to just for the sake of argument, increase the coverage in the network. I want to achieve 100%. If I want to achieve, 4% NRW, let's say, okay. And for that purpose, I'm increasing my investment in the network. I'm just doing that with one example. Like I'll just change water network investment just to show you how it impacts. So from 30,000 million taka, I am just changing this to 51,000, just to an additional 21,000 I have added, right? Let us see what happens in the calculation sheet. So it has achieved 4% by 2030 and 9%. But earlier the coverage was at a lower rate. So I have to just run this scenario 1 minute while I have done the change in the. Yeah. So what has happened is the water network investment. I'll do a Control Z to show how it was before. Yeah. 121670 was a water network investment. And what I have done is I've added some more network investment. See, it was 121. I'm just changing it to, I'm adding another 20,000 here and another 20,000 here. Okay. With this change, I'm just showcasing to you how it has impacted 2020-30. We are achieving 99% coverage versus 4% NRW, right? Both are achievable. NRW is 4%, 99% coverage is there. Now I'm just going to go back and show is 2030, please. So 99% and 4%. I'm highlighting this again, just for your reference, right? When this, if this much investment was not there, let us just, I'll just show, because it's this was initially 47,000, right? And this was 13,000. So the coverage was actually only 74%. The NRW was still the focus. It moved on to 4%. Because I gave a very stringent target, it realized that NRW is the focus. So, but as you can see, the coverage is 74%. It was 99 and 5. So if you increase your investment in the network by 20,000 million taka, you can achieve 100% coverage even in 2030, right? So that is essentially how this model works, that leakage energy sheet works, that with the same amount, where can we put the money? So yeah, this is, yeah, I'm just keeping it back to the previous this thing. So I just wanted to show that difference, that how coverage and NRW are interlinked. I hope that was clear, which is what is the essential purpose of the leakage energy sheet. With the same amount, how with the investment pattern can change the performance indicator. So this is from the overall model perspective. So I will close the session for today, because tomorrow we have another 4 hours, which will be focusing on completely on the inputs and outputs. So today I'm closing the session with just an overview of all the calculation sheets. So tomorrow we will probably start with dashboard and how to create different scenario reports. And first we'll start with the inputs. We will update the data. Right now the model has data only till 2017, right? So we had shared the operational inputs and this thing. So what we will focus on is updating the actuals data for 2019, 2020 and 2021, as all these three are available. Right, we are going to update this tomorrow for Dvasa historical data for all these three sheets, right? And after this three is done, we will also have to check the past data, because some of them have been, because we didn't get complete data, at least in the operational side, these have been entered by us. So we will check the past data. So from 2015 to 2021, we will update the data tomorrow. And hopefully tomorrow we'll see some results. But first focus would be on how to update the data for operational and accounting inputs for tomorrow's session. So that is it for today's session from my side. If anyone has any doubts, I will be happy to take. So tomorrow's session will be in person. Yes.
Yeah, hi. So just I want to add, so let's focus on the input of the data tomorrow, only on the focus on the input of the data, because if the input goes wrong, and the output will also go wrong. There's no point in having those outputs. So
yes,
tomorrow we will only focus on the input of the data. Let's update the entire Excel sheet by till 2021. In case we can collect the data till 2021, yeah, that would be great. Provisional data or whatever data that we have. So that would be great. So let's focus on that. The most important part of this is the very important aspect of the financial model. The next day on Wednesday, we can look at the output generation stuff. Is that fine? So is that fine? Hello.
yes.
So Hilsa, is that fine? In terms so we have early morning 11 o'clock, I think from 11 o'clock to 1 o'clock, and then again from 1 o'clock to 2:30. No, 11 o'clock to 1 o'clock, then 2:30 to 4:30. Okay. So we can focus on the input sheets in both these sessions.
Yes. Sir, is that fine? For tomorrow, we will focus on the input sheet in tomorrow's session. So first half, maybe we'll focus on the accounting inputs, because we would have the data. For operational inputs, so getting the data for 20 till 2021 will be the objective. Either the real data or this, as much as possible, we'll try to focus on the real data so that we can get more realistic projections. And day after tomorrow, we'll focus on the outputs, sir. Yes, sir. Yes.
All right. Okay. Okay.
Yes.
All right. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Thank you all.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.